welcome to this video where today I'm going to be filming my 24-week pregnancy update. As always, if you see me looking down, I have just got my notebook here in front of me and I have got lots to update on this week in this video, such as all the symptoms I've been experiencing, some updates with my gestational diabetes, antenatal classes and baby academy class as well. So starting off with a few symptoms that have stayed the same for me. So I'm still feeling really uncomfortable, especially in the evenings around my stomach. It's a mixture of like the stomach stretching, rib pain. I just find it really uncomfortable to lie down and relax in the evenings. Lying back too much is really uncomfortable. Lying on my side means I can't do anything. So it's just trying to get that balance to be able to relax in the evenings, but without feeling really uncomfortable either. I have still been getting lots of hip pain during the night as well. This is really uncomfortable. I'm getting it more often now, but I do just switch sides and it soon relieves the pain once I have done that. Something else that I've been experiencing during the night is the baby kicking lots more. So especially when I'm getting up to go to the toilet, or sometimes if I wake up around 5 o'clock in the morning, I can feel the baby kicking. So that's been nice. And also I don't tend to feel it as much in the daytime as I do when I'm relaxing in the evening or when I'm in bed. I think that's just because I'm up and active. That's not to say that I don't feel the baby kicking during the day. It's just pretty much guaranteed that every night when I get into bed I'm going to feel the baby kicking now, which is nice, and it's a moment like I can take at the end of the day with the baby, which is lovely. I have also noticed that I've been so forgetful this week. I feel like I've had proper baby brain. I did have this in the first few weeks of when I found out I was pregnant, but this week I've just been forgetting to do little things that I do every day, and it just makes me feel so silly because it's just all the time. But yeah, I've just been so forgetful. I have also noticed that I'm still getting quite out of breath, whether that's walking around, walking up the stairs, or just sitting there. I feel like everything's just so squashed up around my lungs that it's just making me much more out of breath these days. So I think that's it for kind of updates on symptoms this week. I'm kind of at the stage where I'm not feeling like too unwell, too tired or anything like that. It is just more like discomfort and finding a comfortable position more than anything, and just a few aches and pains here and there. But I did have to contact the diabetic nurses this week in regards to my gestational diabetes, so I'll give you a little update on that now. So on Monday I did phone the diabetic team as I'd had more than 2 readings out of target over the last week, which is when they recommend for you to phone in to them. They discussed through my readings that I'd had and also what I had eaten on those days to see if there's anything that had caused it. Now on one of the occasions there was a day where I'd had maybe a couple of different carbs in a meal, like I'd had a wrap, but then I'd also had a banana, so that was kind of explained as to why I'd had a higher reading. They again just explained to me about spreading out the carbs. On that particular day I'd happened to be out for the day, so it was tricky. I hadn't had time to have a snack, and I usually have my banana for a snack. So yeah, I would usually spread them out, however that had caused me to have a higher reading, so they wasn't too concerned with that. They did say that they always get people to phone in after they have more than 2 higher readings, as sometimes people tend to leave it a long time and not contact them, and they don't want that happening, so they do just ask you to phone in after having 2 higher readings. They did also explain that if I do carry on getting these readings, that metmorphin is an option for having some medication to bring down my readings. However, they didn't necessarily recommend this to me as I'm only 24 weeks and I've still got a long way to go yet. So they said just see if you can try and spread those carbs out, make any more dietary changes that you think you might need to, but if there is any more readings out of target, just to contact them. So other than that, they were kind of happy with where I'm at, and just to give them a call back if anything else happened to change. So I did actually just give my midwife a call this week as well, just in regards to my MAPB1 form, as I couldn't quite remember when I was given it last time, and I know my employer is wanting it around this time now. So I did ask her, and she said that they will give it to me at my 25-week midwife appointment. They said this is when they usually give you your form. However, if it's like past your first pregnancy, you don't normally have a 25-week midwife appointment, and that's when you'd be given the form at your 20-week scan. However, because at my 20-week scan they booked me in for a 25-week midwife appointment extra, they just said not to worry about it, and when I go to that appointment next week then they'll give it to me then, and that employers don't actually need it until you're 34 weeks, so there's no rush there and don't need to worry about that. We did also then have our weekly antenatal class, which, as I've said before, is held in person with a group of other expectant parents. So this week was called You, Your Baby and the Stages of Labour, and this was midwife led. They talked through lots of different topics such as transport of getting to the hospital, making sure that everyone's okay and knows how they're going to be getting there. She did also talk about when to phone the hospital as well. She again explained that they have to follow a particular structure of topics they need to cover, so things that you wouldn't necessarily want to talk about on the first midwife week, she has had to do, and then other things I'll talk about next week. So following on from that, she did talk about going to theatre and what to expect if you end up having to go to theatre for any kind of interventions or C-sections and things like that, and who would be with you there in the room, as in medical team wise and other people as well. She talked through assisted birth, such as suction cups and forceps, and also transfer of care. So that was mainly to do if you're planning on having a birthing centre birth or a home birth, and what happens if there then becomes complications and travelling into the hospital. I found this session to be really useful to me. As I've said before, I'm expecting to have more medical intervention this time compared to my previous pregnancy, so things that I didn't maybe necessarily take on board last time when I did my classes, I'm definitely listening to a lot more now, just as I know that it could well be a reality for me this time round. And then at the end of the week, unfortunately, I did have to ring diabetic nurses again, as I'd had a few more readings that were out of target, and this time they were unexplained as well. I'd eaten meals that I would have usually eaten and not had a problem with, so that was kind of a little bit more concerning to me. So I gave them a call, and again they went through all my readings, what meals I'd had on the days where I'd been over target. I did say to her that I felt like I could maybe make a few more dietary changes before being put on medication, as being put on metmorphin was suggested to me again. She did say it was kind of up to me whether I started the medication or not though. So I said I would do my food shopping this week, kind of change my meals for like one final time to see if I can do any more, maybe adding more protein into my meals, less carbs, and just see if that made any kind of a difference to me. But she did say again, if there was no improvement with my readings, then to give them a call back, and then at that point they would probably just try me on the medication, as I tried all that I could do with dietary changes. So that was it for updating on the gestational diabetes this week. Again, as I said, I've had lots of ups and downs with it this week, but unfortunately that is just how it goes. There's not really much you can do about it. There's only so much you can control, and the rest is just how your body is reacting to the pregnancy hormones and things like that. So yeah, I have been diet controlled for like 9 weeks now, so that's pretty good going for it to have stayed stable for this long, but we'll just have to see how it goes next week. We did also do another baby academy class this week. As I said, they're free online classes, and they're really great. We've done one so far, and really recommend them. They've been really good. So this week we attended the breastfeeding preparation class. So they covered a range of different topics, such as how breastfeeding works, the cues for a hungry baby and how to recognize them early on. If you kind of miss those early cues, then the baby can become really distressed, and then trying to calm the baby down before feeding them if they're in that really distressed state is really important, or else they're really going to struggle to be able to feed. She did also talk about the acronym CHINS, so obviously each letter stands for something different. So C is for close, hold the baby close to you. H is for head and hands free, as putting your hand right at the back there can be really uncomfortable for baby. I is for inline, so actually turning the baby towards you, not just their head. N is for nose to nipple, so you're getting like the right latch for the baby. And S is for sustainable, so making sure you're comfortable. Try and use feeding pillows if you can, which is something I need to order. I have a few that I've seen that I like the look of, but I just need to decide on one and actually order it now. She then went on to talk through latch and how to get a really good latch for the baby and how this can be really important for feeding. She spoke about different breastfeeding positions, such as like one where you have the baby diagonal, you can have them in like a rugby position, and a few others as well. She talked about the importance of skin to skin and how naturally the baby will just make its way to you to feed, and how that time's really important, especially after giving birth. She talked a little bit about hand expressing and what stages to start doing this, and also gathering a colostrum as well. And she also talked through the benefits of breastfeeding, which was really useful to hear. It was another really great class and really recommend that one. It was an hour and a half this time, so not quite as long as the other one, but it still felt like every moment was packed full of really useful information. So that was it for updates on this week. So I'll go ahead now and show you the bump update at 24 weeks pregnant. So this is the bump update at 24 weeks and 6 days. As you can see, the clothes aren't really covering all of the bump anymore. So that's everything for my 24-week pregnancy update. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next week. Goodbye.